you're with us and spending your time with us. We have a really special time today, and I'm going to interrupt briefly and share my beautiful colors. It's been a long time since I've been in an area that has fall colors and just celebrating and enjoying the unique and beautiful natural colors that we
natural
have.
colors that we have.
Today,
Today,
I have an echo, Ethel.
That's someone's speaker. Okay. Try again.
Okay,
Try
thank you.
again. Okay, thank you.
Appreciate that. Today we have
Today
something
we have
really
something
special.
really special.
Giovanni and
Giovanni and
Letizia.
Letizia. Hang on.
Again, being interrupted by an echo.
And anybody okay, let me see. Let me just double check. Sylvia, I know it's not Sylvia, but I'm gonna put you on mute for now.
Let's try again. Thanks for working with us. We are all figuring this out as we go along. Giovanni has been talking about desaturating colors going in a warm direction and going in a cool direction. And he's also talking about sequencing, about the order that you place the colors in order for desaturation. And I'm really excited to see what we can learn from him. I love studying really deeply in watercolor because I feel like our renaissance is still ahead of us. And this information that Giovanni is bringing to us, my curiosity is piqued. Also, if you'd like to paint along, please go ahead and prepare your white, your titanium white, and your buff titanium, as well as a red of your choice or a blue of your choice. Giovanni, I'm looking forward to your time together and take it away.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you to all. And today is very interesting tips because many students in my classroom asking me what's the difference of desaturation. In watercolor, in the subtractive system in watercolor, the desaturation is considered is not pure color. Use or white or black or brown, blue, yellow inside in another color, or use the complementary color for desaturation the color. Today, for example, I share the screen my phone top view, sorry. Okay. Try this. This is not a mix. It's a simple tips for desaturation the red. For example, I started with this example, quinacridone coral, and apply little point of titanium white, and obtain this desaturation is typical, is normal, neutral. But if you want, it's possible to desaturation in a warm line before the titanium white. For example, this is queen coral. Before the titanium white, apply the buff titanium and obtain the warm desaturation. And in the third example, apply queen coral, and before the titanium white, use the ultramarine blue for cool desaturation. And if you want, apply before the titanium white but after the ultramarine blue the buff titanium for obtain little gray desaturation in this part. This part, for example, is the same but change the sequence. Use before the color, I use the titanium white and buff titanium and obtain this part. It's very, very simple, but very is important in the watercolor system because the system is a subtractive. Starting for the tips. And after the watercolor stick, for example, I use the gouache in the mass tone with titanium white, buff titanium, pyro red, pyro scarlet, and cobalt blue. Okay, I starting with the quinacridone coral. And many students confuse the desaturation with dilution. This is a color
Giovanni, would you repeat that, please? You said many students confuse desaturation with
dilution. This is
dilution. Thank you.
dilution color. This is a dilution color. I use the water, but it's not desaturation. Desaturation is the color, and in this case, take titanium white.
Stanno chiedendo se queste sono acquarelli.
Yes. This is a desaturation. Don't use the water. And if you want dilution, the desaturation, apply the water and continues. But this is the desaturation. If you want, before the titanium white, I'm restarting. This is a watercolor sticks. Apply the buff titanium. And titanium white. And obtain this desaturation tone. This is warm. If you want the cool, apply the ultramarine blue point. And white. And obtain this cool desaturation. Check the difference. And for example, queen coral, blue, ultramarine blue, buff titanium, and titanium white. And obtain this warmer desaturation. Okay, now I try to change the sequence. Starting with buff, titanium white, blue,
Non si vedono i colori.
oops, sorry, and queen coral. And obtain this. It's very, very different scale for desaturation. And now the substitution of titanium white, try with Chinese white and gray titanium. Enough pan in this case. Started the same pink coral. With the gray titanium. Very warm. queen coral with Chinese white. I have a problem with my lamp, sorry. Okay. And obtain this grade of desaturation. And now try to apply the black before the titanium white. Use the same queen coral. On the point of lamp black. And titanium white. Like blue, sorry. Okay. And try this same with queen coral. Lamp black. And gray titanium. Mixing together. Obtain this desaturation color, but is better for undertones. And try with titanium white for desaturation these mixes. The range of this light is very, very close, but very, very different. Okay. Now, for example, change my red. I use the uh, another red is more warm, is organic vermilion. The sticks. I start with the warm color. Use the titanium white. In this case, when I use the white directly, is obtain the pastel color. Okay, the same with gray titanium. The same with Chinese white. See the difference. And now apply one blue. I decide to cobalt blue before the white. And titanium white. That's and arrive at the desaturation. It's cool. If you want more warm, with buff titanium, and titanium white. And obtain this beautiful desaturation shade. Okay. Now change another color. Red is carmine. A very beautiful red. Cool color. Titanium white. Okay. And before the titanium white, is buff titanium. Sorry for my light reflection, but without is bad. Okay. If you want the carmine more cool, apply the blue, and the side is a strong blue, phthalo blue green shade. And titanium white. The desaturation in watercolor, repeat, is very, very important because it's important for studying the different dilution and desaturation. Okay. And now the last color, the red, is alizarin crimson. In full red. In this case, I use the gray titanium. And after, Chinese white. Together and arrive at this desaturation scale.
Giovanni?
Yeah.
Giovanni, this is John Ardila. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine.
Yeah. I wanna make some addition explanation about the desaturation.
Yeah.
Maybe you have some complementary color to the red, maybe some green, because the desaturation should be to the color white, to the color black, or to the color complementary. Maybe it's better explain the desaturation when it's a complementary color, because the color become to the gray tone, and then you can put the red in one side and the green in the other side, and you will see what is the junction? The junction color is become to the gray tones. Maybe I always work with the purple and ochre tones. And I try to find always the desaturation in my art, in my watercolor paintings. But maybe for some students, my students, I try to explain this process, the desaturation, because saturation is when it's the original tone very strong. You can dilute it with water, you explained that. But the desaturation is very important because it's killing the original tone. It's become the original tone to some great color. For example, here in my painting, I use, let me see. In my painting, I use ochre and purple, but the color become too gray, but it's not gray, it's the desaturation.
Yeah,
It's some little sample, but maybe you can do the real sample in live show right now. Is good to the new students understand what's the desaturation. It's very, very important, that concept. Yes.
yeah. For example, now a little and the
I think
complement.
his speaker. Okay, John's mic is now off. Go ahead, Gio.
Okay. I use the complementary color, one red and one green, alizarin crimson permanent green light. I obtain in this tone, but now when I use the white or black, in this case, I have the 2 point of desaturation. But in this case, I mixing the color on the complementary. But the desaturation is have a multiple when for example, this is pure color, or use white, or use black, or use complementary, or this on one yellow. I desaturate this pure color, but the mix, the sequence is the same concept for desaturation color. For example, now I try this.
Thank you, Giovanni, for running through that idea. Juan Ardilla, I appreciate you adding to the conversation about the colorful grays. And by putting a complementary color is another form of desaturating and adding those beautiful, colorful grays.
Okay. And now, for example, I use the cobalt blue and one yellow. And obtain this green. But after this, apply the white. And desaturation, this mix. And the black, this mix. This is the same concept, but I use only in this part the mix desaturation. But when I use the cobalt blue singular color and apply the yellow on it, is mixing, not desaturation. Is use the cobalt with the white. This is desaturation, or the black. Oh, sorry. Desaturation. It's very, very simple concept, but very important. Now, my last tips, use the gouache in the master. I'm starting with Pyro Scarlet.
Giovanni, may I ask a question before we transition to gouache?
Yep.
Can you give examples of ways that you have used these techniques of desaturating with white and the sequencing of desaturation within your own paintings?
Yeah, absolutely. I explain. Buff and titanium white. The sequence, for example, when start the first with Queen Coral with titanium white, buff titanium, titanium white, and Queen Coral and ultramarine blue and titanium white. The third example is the same but change the sequence. I'm starting with titanium white and buff and apply Queen Coral and ultramarine blue, and after is the buff titanium for obtaining this. I literally change the sequence. But this concept is very, very important because I have a multiple, unlimited mixing and desaturation, in this case, combination. Okay. I'm starting with Pyro Scarlet. White.
Giovanni, would it be accurate to say, so traditionally I'm a painter who does not use white, but I'm seeing the benefit of using white because am I correct in seeing what you're communicating is the pastels and the desaturated colors that you're able to reach are not able to be reached. You're using white to desaturate, which cannot create the same pigment colors as just dilution with water alone. Am I catching that correctly?
Yes.
Because,
You
yeah.
the saturation, you get
John,
another.
John, we're getting an echo from your speaker.
Yeah, may I show you some sample, the desaturation?
Yes, sure.
Yes, well, okay. Let me see.
Okay.
Yeah, I use two tones, the violet and the ochre quinacridone is a gold quinacridone. But in the between, create the color, the grays.
Yeah.
You see, this is the sample. It's a degradation, but no using, I don't use white for the sun.
Okay.
But the desaturation make a special tertiary tones. Very, very, very nice. Look like gray, you know.
Yeah.
Let me put a little more for. Yeah.
I appreciate
Juan,
you're able to share beautiful thinking, giving an example of what you're saying.
For example, John.
Thank you.
Okay.
So maybe another thing of what I'm hearing from Juan saying is that he is reaching the full chromatic values and the full desaturations using just two colors and not using the white. Am I hearing you correctly, Juan?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, no using the white. I'm using the complementary colors to make the desaturation. This is the base to make the very strong contrast and the degradé tone between one color to the complementary color. Is that?
Okay. This is with the
Anna
gouache.
Marie, you're muted.
Thank you. I see also that Anna Candela on the writing side is also commenting to add orange to blue for desaturating. So I hear what you're saying because this is the way I've always worked is you use the complementary color to desaturate. But I think Giovanni is taking us in a slightly different direction, which as somebody who hasn't used white before, I find very edifying to learn about. Thank you, Giovanni. Please continue.
And now it's starting with the gouache, Pearl Scalded and Titanium White, Pearl Scalded Buff Titanium and Titanium White, Pearl Scalded with Cobalt Blue and Titanium White. I obtained these three different desaturation red. In gouache is very beautiful effect. And the last combination is with Pyro Red. Titanium. And Titanium White. And now change the sequence. Apply the Titanium White before. Little dirt, sorry. But Titanium. And Pearl Scarlet. Obtain this desaturation color. Now
Giovanni, I have another question for you, and maybe you can spend a moment thinking about it. I know we've talked about this privately, artist to artist, but and this is stepping back to the watercolor side, which is transparent. For somebody who, like myself, did not or does not use white, and I'm seeing a demonstration using white through every mix. What would you tell us? So I know in the British tradition that they say only transparencies and you only use the white of the paper. So can you, when you're comfortable answering the question, give a response to that philosophy of painting?
I use the white because for example, when I use the strong color, the opaque color, I prefer the saturation with white. Don't use the white of the paper, the white of the paper, because it is more directly for me mixing the color. I have two multiple difference. I use the titanium white or Chinese white for the color and plus the white on paper. And I have two different times. And I prefer to apply the color for the saturation.
I have found that white has been indispensable when I'm trying to paint a white beard or pinks.
Yeah,
Specifically. That is exactly what we're demonstrating today. Thank you. Thank you for letting me interrupt your gouache to step back and talk about watercolor.
I check the time and another brand ambassador, Sabine, Rico, Caroline, Anna.
Very good. Ethel, would you look around and see who else is painting? And I will bring up.
Let's see.
I've been
Okay, I
working on.
was actually looking at Sylvia. So we have Sylvia.
Wonderful. Please continue, Sylvia. We'd love to see your work.
Okay, now I'm using the colors Giovanni was showing us. Here is quinacridone coral with which one? French ultramarine. I was trying, starting from the saturated color and then desaturating with buff titanium and then titanium white. And then I added here all of them mixed with French ultramarine. Everything desaturated, but here saturated. Now, here I was trying Pyro red with blue apatite genuine, which I like a lot because it gives me a gray here that I think it's very beautiful with titanium white. And here, Pyro red with titanium white and that's it. Yeah, buff titanium in the middle. So it's a little bit cooler than than the blue. And here I was like, oh, which one is Queen Pink with buff titanium and titanium white. It's a very beautiful shade of rose pink. And I'm going on and on. And for the body of the butterfly, I desaturated the blue with the red. I did a little bit, well, a little bit of everything here. Okay, using just blue and red and white and buff titanium. That's it, and that's it.
Thank you, Sylvia.
You're welcome.
I love the freshness of the images that you've created.
Thank you, thank you. No, but you know, I was just thinking, listening to you about the white because I'm the one that never uses white till now.
Right.
Because I think it's different things. We have to separate. While using the white of the paper, I think this is one thing. And the other thing is using the white to get new mixing colors. So the concept is completely different to me.
Right.
Because in watercolor, I think that we don't have to cover with white because this is not, to me, watercolor. Watercolor talks about transparency. But when you have the titanium white, for example, the buff titanium, that are colors that, see, I will show, we can't cover. They have their transparency, which I think is very nice. And if I have some, for example, saturated hair, red, oh, sorry about this accent, but if you have this saturated head red here, I can desaturate. And I can do this in every part of the painting. It's not about covering mistakes. It's not about using the white for instead of the white of the paper, which is completely different. That's I want to share this because to me it's some traditional thing, but we can add more more ideas, adding this beautiful titanium and buff titanium whites. Okay.
So
That's it.
we had a comment from Letizia, and she's saying white is a color. Is that summarizing what you're trying to communicate? Is that summarizing your thought with that, Sylvia?
Yes, that's exactly. Because something here, and I can leave the white of the paper in my paintings, light, and to express light, but light here is a color. Otherwise, it wouldn't be here, right? It's concrete. So I can create more shades So it's a color, definitely. Exactly. That's what I meant. Thank you, Leticia.
Thank you, Sylvia. I
You're
have a few
welcome.
comments before we transition to Sabina, I believe. And just wanted to share, Sabina, nobody ever has to apologize for their accent. We're so glad for your accent, and every accent is welcome here because you make your neighbors feel welcome in a way that I never can. And I'm so grateful for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're so glad you're here. And I'd also like to read a few comments in the chat from Letizia. And she says, the value is that with white, you can get a new color. You don't dilute as with water, but you desaturate and you get a pastel color.
Yes.
And again, her comment, white is a color. And I've heard this one too. Black is a color. Yes.
Yes.
And then Letizia also said, so we suggest to use it, which is white, and not exclude it from the palette. The saturated color is the original color, and it is a different thing. Giovanni uses the white in the mixing. Letizia, thanks for explaining so eloquently. We sure appreciate your addition. Sabina, welcome.
Thank you. I look for Giovanni's paintings and I use to my colors that is anthracenoid scarlet with buff titanium, and that is opera pink with buff titanium, and this is quinacridone pink with buff titanium.
Wow.
And here I have the cobalt blue and buff, and King's Royal and buff, and this is the ultramarine turquoise with buff titanium. And here I use the quinacridone sienna, and you see with buff titanium you become just a skin tone. And that's very interesting for me. I never see that. And that's a highlight. And I think, okay, I make more.
Sabina, I'm
Yes.
going to interrupt real quick. We have a question on the Facebook side asking, what color is the first one again, please?
Oh, the first one was anthracenoid scarlet.
Can you repeat that?
With buff titanium. I use buff titanium, and I use anthracenoid scarlet to mix it. And here's the real anthracenoid scarlet, and this is buff titanium.
Thank
and
you.
I mix it, yes. And I go more in, I thinking with water.
Wow.
And I mix it. I want to have some puggy states. And here I see when I use buff titanium in a wet cobalt blue, the buff titanium seems to be more heavy. And it goes in the blue color inside, like an animal. I don't know. And so I look more and I make this. I look at the quinacridone sienna and mix it with buff titanium, and it's not so much. These two colors are, they don't have this like cobalt blue, but that's the quinacridone purple, and you see how nice the color go. It's like little arms. Here it's like little trees, and it's wonderful, and I love it.
I think Buffy talks about this being a bully color. It pushes.
Yes. Thank you, Bowie color. And so I think, okay, I use it in a very wet color, and you see there is a little shine on it over there.
Mhm.
And here on the bottom, it looks like very, very soft.
Mm.
And that's it. That's in a color, it's a little bit more dry. And then I see that's with buff titanium and that's with water.
Mm.
And so you see the difference. Just
You
snowy
can,
scenes.
you can clearly see the desaturation difference also.
Yes.
Water.
Sabine, what
Yes.
color you're using here? Are you using?
That color is the ultramarine
Turquoise?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Sabine, can you show the deep blue one with the buff titanium again that you showed right before this one?
That one?
The other one with the dark blue. I think it was ultramarine.
Cobalt blue?
Yes. Yeah, that's so pretty.
It was very wet too. So it's a different if you use it in very wet, so you have a shine on it and a very foggy scene, or if you make it in a little bit more dry, when it's just in the between dry and soft wet.
It makes
And
me
that's
look
the
forward
different.
to winter.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
So much, Sabina.
Thank you
And
so much for showing.
we appreciate it. And next we have Rick Anderson.
Well, my challenge today was to use colors I haven't really used before. Manganese blue hue and organic vermilion.
Good
Just the
job.
colors, how I blended them together, but also incorporating buff titanium and Chinese white and titanium white, and mixing on the different palettes in the areas with a lot of water. Of course, I like to put structures into my work, but this gives the feel of how just this color and this color can just be used in so many different ways. And I think it's always good to challenge ourselves by limiting our palette, because we're so used to grabbing this color and this color. And of course, this does not have a quinacridone gold in it, which is killing me here. But in the mixes, and what we try to show is how we can get things with colors that we haven't tried yet. And then can we incorporate the combination of these colors? Oh, of course, neutral tint is in here as well. But can we include these new colors that we work with and practice on our own into what we're doing now? And I think we can, because it's a challenge to try something new, even if we've been doing this for a long, long, long time. Every time we do something, we learn. And this is wet on wet mostly.
Am I correct in seeing that you have diluted with water at the bottom, but then you have desaturated with the whites through the middle? Can you walk through that with us?
Yes. I really like the way when the palette is, when the paper is still wet, to lay in like the buff titanium or the Chinese white or titanium white, because it really gives a softness, and it just gives a whole different feel to the color. And especially with the foreground, how it comes. I didn't want to make this too busy because that would compete with the top part. Now, I think the colors are showing a lot brighter on the screen here. So if we could, if you could tone that down a little bit mentally, you can see that what we try to do is get a feeling of depth and distance. And even though the red that I'm using really is pretty strong, it can still give the illusion of a warm color in the sky. But this is definitely warm versus cool versus neutrals. And like y'all were talking about earlier, that white and black are colors. I've always referred to them as values.
Mm-hmm.
So it will, and the the neutral tint is just an amazing paint because it can blend with any color. So I hope this helps.
Thank you. It's interesting hearing what you're saying about laying down your white pigment first to make everything soft, because I hear connections to what Giovanni was saying about the order and the sequencing of the painting.
Well, not necessarily first all the time. It just depends. Like I like to say that sometimes the painting will tell me what to do. And if an area that I think needs to have an effect with a white or a buff titanium, the more you use these on works, the more you know what they will do. And so like someone said, how long does it take you to do a painting? Well, ever since I started until the time actually on this piece of work. So, and we all are learning all the time. And that's what I like about our Thursday mixes, because we just offer, and I learn every day when I watch other artists do it. And I think it's an amazing and wonderful thing that we offer every Thursday.
Thank you so much, Rick.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, next up,
Buffy?
we have Buffy. Wow, look at the vibrancies of these colors. Go for it, Buffy. We've got about 9 minutes before the end, 8 minutes before the end of our time.
Okay, I'll go quickly. I really thank you, Gio and John, Sabine, everybody for sharing. We learn every session. And I wanted to share a cheat. So what I do to desaturate my colors is I'll add a drop of sepia. And sepia makes them all look kind of nature. So since I paint a lot of nature inspired paintings, so I love the introduction of buff titanium today because this is indigo and magenta, and you can see how bold and beautiful those colors are. With the sepia, I can get the desaturated color as well as with the buff titanium. Let me see, right? This one. So look at this beautiful desaturated, right, Gio? Of colors that would go with the bright, bold colors. And then this is the coral and the cobalt teal. And again, look at this amazing like carnation pink that you get. And then with the sepia, these kind of, I don't know, gritty colors. And then down here is the quinacridone red and lunar blue. And again, you get a really cool desaturated, kind of like a light gray color. And then look at the beautiful dusty rose colors you get. So I also like that you shared the difference between dilution and desaturation, that dilution being with water and then the desaturation with the white. I like that a lot because sometimes when we use water, we get that lighter value, but it might not be a color that does well in a painting. So I like having the titanium white and the buff titanium and the gray. Is it buff gray, whatever, that we can add to our palettes and play with. So thank you for sharing today, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Buffy.
Okay. I don't
Let's see.
Mark.
Oh, wait, one more.
No.
One more thing. I'm sorry, I so forgot. I do a lot of pouring. So this is the magenta and indigo with some buff titanium splattered in to get a lighter passage. So you could also splatter it in.
Could you hold that up closer? Hold that up
Yes.
closer, if you will, to the camera. Oh, that's fabulous.
Thank you. Yeah, just so because it's such dark colors. So if you have a dark, wet section, try splattering a little buff titanium or the titanium white, and it can create some lighter areas. A lot of fun.
What colors were those? It's so pretty.
This is the indigo and the quinacridone magenta with buff titanium splattered into it. Really pretty. And here it is without the buff titanium. So you can see the difference. Here it is without, and here it is with. So you can see how you can enjoy those colors in a different way.
It's so much softer.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for letting me share, guys.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you, Buffy. Do we have any other brand ambassadors that would like to share before we still
Let's
have 5 more
check.
minutes?
Um,
I
Carrie,
see
are
him look on
you?
my screen, but I'm under
Carrie is
pressure.
in the. Maybe she's not. Ca
I
Carrie,
didn't
would you
paint.
like
I
to
didn't
share?
paint today. I didn't paint
Okay,
today. Just watching.
No
that's
pressure.
all
We're so glad
right.
you guys are here.
Ana Candela?
Anna, how about Anna? Oh yeah,
You
Anna's
guys
ready.
always painting and doing a great job.
Okay, let's have Anna first.
Would you like to share a few words about your work, Anna?
Oh yeah, this was like super interesting. This is all wash, no, because I only have in wash the titanium white.
Mhm.
So this is what Giovanni said, and this is what he's saying about dilution, and this is alizarin crimson and adding water. So and here I'm experimenting with what they were saying about complementary colors, and I learned that some are really not complementary, so they're crossed out. But depending on the quantity you use of some, like this cadmium hue orange just does green with phthalo blue. But if you do it with cerulean blue, then you do get a complementary, and then you get the desaturation, if you can see it here.
Yeah.
And this, I was just trying what just Buffy showed, and I don't have her exact colors, but it's Prussian blue, opera pink, and I added Van Dyck Brown, which is Giovanni's favorite, I know. And you do get an adapted desaturation. I just need to add some white, and but I'll finish off after here. But this is super interesting too, because you also need to not put, like here I put too much blue and then you don't get it. But if you go a little bit more, then you do get the desaturation with the complementary colors. And so here, like I probably should have added more white to get what Giovanni was saying. So the quantity of so that's a good learning thing to
The example, this,
add enough.
yeah, is a spring green organic vermilion. But in
Look
the
there.
is a mixing of complementary. This is the saturation with organic vermilion with spring green inside, little point inside. This is green with little point of organic inside. This is the saturation organic with titanium white. The green titanium white, the green with lamp black, and the red with lamp black. This is the desaturation system.
That shows
Oh.
it very clearly.
I go very heavy. I don't have lampblack, but I did neutral tint, and I really went.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I need to measure my quantities, I think.
Giovanni, how did you use that lamp black? You just barely
It's barely
touched
lamp.
it.
Yeah.
I think a really important thing that I'm gleaning from what Anna is saying also is that she doesn't have the exact colors that the brand ambassadors were using. And that's okay, because what you're doing is you're still exploring with what you have, and you're still making it happen, painting in it, and that's enough, and that's beautiful. And
Yeah.
I'll face that. Oh, I don't have the exact color, but I can work with that triad or
Yeah, maybe you don't get the exact complementary, but then you explore a little bit more, and then you do get it, and yeah, I think that's great.
thank you, Anna.
No, thank you,
Giovanni, do
Anna.
you have
Thank you,
anything?
everybody.
Yeah, Giovanni, do you have anything to add before the end, or Letizia?
No, this all thank you to all of the brand ambassador for this session. Thank you, Anna, for your presentation. And I hope explain very well this concept. It's a simple concept, but it's very, very long
I found
process.
it very helpful and educational to learn
Yeah.
the process of, okay, work with the order. Start with the white, start with the red, start with the blue, and taking turns and then
Jonah,
rotate through. And that was very helpful.
for the beautiful page, John, for beautiful example.
I think
Yeah.
it's great, Gio. I don't use white very often, and now I'm definitely considering, and I didn't know about gray titanium. So all of these things are new options.
Yeah.
I think we can tease Carrie because we thought you used all the colors.
Your life
Giovanni,
limited.
Giovanni was able to introduce some more colors to
That's
Carrie's.
right.
Thank you, everybody, so much for
Thank you,
spending your
everyone.
evening with us.
Thank
and
you,
all
thank you,
together.
thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Giovanni.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Ana
Gio.
Maria.
Giovanni and
Hey,
the
Join us
everybody.
Thank you,
tomorrow. We're gonna be
everybody.
Bye-bye.
See you.
polling.
See you tomorrow.
See you
Tomorrow
tomorrow with
is
polling.
Okay.
looking forward to seeing you then. Thank
Thank
you and
you.
goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.